Hi guys, rugby video incoming, wearing my Ireland gear. We have a break now for a week. It's actually really good because rugby training is on this week, so I've got something to keep me going. Going now later on today. Then we have training on a Thursday. Come on, I've got to be in the middle of the road. We're learning them slowly but surely. So I got it on today and Thursday, and then obviously a break the weekend, but there will be provincial games, so that's something. I was also watching Stormers against the Bulls. Man, Cameron Hanekom has some engine on him. I thought he was an out and out openside, but the power of the man. How many players did he run through? About 7. Credit where it's due, he really is a bull. Deceptively strong. You know, I find that South African backrower so powerful. And I can't wait. Wales are playing Ireland. There's apparently a big announcement coming. Warren Gatland may be getting sacked halfway through the tournament. It's sad to see the way Welsh rugby has gone. Like, when all's said and done, Welsh rugby's always been great, you know. Simon Easterby's being tipped for the job, but I don't think they're getting the point. They've done something arseways with the selection. It's the selection, you know. I was speaking to a Welsh lad that I played rugby with, Gareth Beta. We used to nickname him Master Beta. Great guy. But they're talking as well, and then there were Irish lads that played over in Wales, and they always talk about there's great players, but they're just not getting selected. And I've definitely experienced that in Ireland myself. Players you thought were outstanding, not even talking about myself, talking about other players, but they just never got the assistance or the help they needed to progress, you know. For whatever reason, as far as I could see, they were good enough. Maybe they didn't want to, I don't know. But the best players were not getting selected. That's for sure, and that seems to be happening with Wales. And you have players that are 37 being replaced by 18, 19-year-olds. And that's what I'm worried about happening here, you know. Like Cian Healy being replaced by Jack Boyle. Cian Healy's nearly 38, Jack Boyle's 22. That's very daunting for a lad, especially in a position like prop, to have to do that. And let Wales be an example that it doesn't work. Because you have loads of players leaving who are old with loads of ailments, who can't do big minutes, and then you've got young fellas coming in who are naturally nervous, shitting themselves, and they get thrown in the deep end. You can damage a person's confidence so much. And what the All Blacks have always done really well is building teams. I was going to say, like, what makes the All Blacks such a great rugby team? Like, and some people will say cheating, or sometimes they got the rub of the green, yes. But you can't deny that they are an excellent rugby team. Best run of any sports team ever. They're outstanding, you have to say that. Credit where it's due. Like, everyone copies the All Blacks. Might not think they do, but they all do. If it wasn't for the All Blacks, we wouldn't have people trying to, you know, make tackles, roll out of the ruck and have every man on their feet. We wouldn't have systems like we see. So what the All Blacks basically did was have 4 teams of 15, so 60 men, 4 players in each position, all ready to go at any given time. All brilliant players, all capable, all not necessarily world class. Some players don't have to be world class, they just contribute to the team. They do a job that another lad doesn't, and they complement each other. Like, if there's any Kiwis in this chat talking, kia ora whānau. Jackson Hemapo, anyone remember him? I remember watching Jackson Hemapo for the Highlanders in Otago, I think they are, yeah, Dunedin, sorry. And they're called the Highlanders because there's a large influx of Scottish people. Richie McCaw being of Scottish descent, representing the Crusaders, who are one of the best rugby teams to ever play. You know, like clubs wise, you put Leinster up there as well, but the Crusaders right up there. Then that Bulls team that won so many Super Rugby competitions. when you had Victor Metfield and Bocky's Butter. big Afrikaners. While Becky's Bota was a dirty player, when I played second row, I based my game off him. I used to love watching him and just how he roughed up the opposition. A little bit too much sometimes. But like, you've got to give the All Blacks credit where it's due. They had a player in, like, for 4 different teams they could put out, and it would be good enough to beat anyone. Not because they're necessarily the most talented players, but they all did a job. Like Jackson McCaw, I think, is a great example, because I saw him playing and thought, great work rate, great engine. Not the most naturally gifted rugby player. He played as a second row, like a loose head second row. I always used to think 4 was that. I wore 4 on my back, and it was because it was Becky's Bota's jersey. You're not going in there, come on. No, that's someone else's house. We can't go in there. Come on. You're not invited. But yeah, I wanted the 4 jersey because it was Becky's Bota's, and I really fell in love with the South African philosophy of rugby, with my coach Garrett being from Joburg. And I remember looking at Jackson Hempapoli. He wore 5 on his back, but played as a loose head second row. So usually, like, they can play 6, and he played 6 as well, blindside flanker. I never thought he would be an All Black, genuinely, because I didn't think he was good enough. And when I saw him in the All Black jersey, he played for the Maori All Blacks. I thought, alright, yeah, it's good to see so many good Maori players represent the All Blacks, the Maori All Blacks. But when he got in, he did a job. He had a great work rate, you know, he did all the donkey work. Like, I would say for the Ireland team, James Ryan is not the most naturally gifted rugby player I've ever seen. But my God, he's got some engine on him. He makes loads of tackles. He, not the best, most skillful player, but the line out, the tackles, all the hard work, he does that brilliantly. Tyg Byrne would be an example of a naturally gifted player. And yet James Ryan came through, and Tyg Byrne had to go abroad to get selected and was going to play for Wales at one stage. They could certainly do with him now, that's for sure. But the All Blacks showed me, you do not have to be the best in the world in every position. They're a collective, they're a team, they're everything it means to be a team. And if one lad gets injured, guess what? There's a lad waiting to slot in. You can tell me, yeah, sure, it's more popular in New Zealand than it is everywhere else. It's actually losing popularity, and they're relying on the private skill game, which is not a done thing in New Zealand. New Zealand are the team that are loved because everyone can play. Doesn't matter what your background, and they are everything that rugby should be. People call Richie McCaw a dirty player. He wasn't a dirty player. He played on the edge, definitely, yeah. But have you seen the amount of punishment the man copped? Gouges, knees to the head, dumped on his neck. I'd say people were dirty to him rather than the other way around. Did he cheat? Yeah, but he's an openside flanker and one of the best in the business. David Pocock is better for me. I always keep saying that. David Pocock is the best openside flanker I've ever seen, and nobody can convince me otherwise. But Richie McCaw has got to be the toughest player you've ever seen. Not because he was cheap shotting or being dirty in games, because he took so much punishment and kept getting back up for the team. Best leader in the game. So by a mile he was fucking excellent. And when he got back up after being smashed and kept going, everybody else kind of, you could see it in their eyes there, like, well, he can do it. I'm bigger and stronger than him. He's just shown me that I can believe in myself. Sure, that's happened to me in games. I've done it, and lads have done it and inspired me. Where you're like, that lad did it, so I can do it, you know. They get back up and keep going, and you know you can as well. That's what McCaw gave to the All Blacks. Come on, stay in now. Go this way or that way? Yeah, we'll go back. Goodbye. That's what rugby is all about, and you have to give it to the All Blacks. While they may have been dirty on the pitch, possibly, yeah, sure, I don't deny that. While there was that whole shit with Brodie Retallick and Peter O'Mahony. I'm on Brodie Retallick's side. Peter O'Mahony called Sam Cane the replacement openside for Richie McCaw. He called him a shit Richie McCaw. Sam Cane was a great player. I hate seeing him being disrespected the way he was, because he was a great openside. Very, very tough task, replacing the greatest ever All Black in Richie McCaw. Like, how are you going to do that? You can basically only go down in everyone's estimations. And shame on everybody, especially the New Zealand media, for hammering him as well. He was a great player. He was your typical dogged, hard-working openside flanker who would just make tackle after tackle. He'd come off the pitch covered in blood. That's exactly what you love to see from your openside flanker. Not the most naturally gifted player in the world, no, but my God, he had some engine on him. Brilliant player. Artie Savea is world class. The Savea brothers are world class. They're naturally gifted at rugby. And Artie Savea can carry, he can tackle, he can jackal the ball as well. He's brilliant, and he's so fucking fast. He can do all the fundamentals of a big forward, but has the pace of a winger. Just a shame him and Julian didn't get more games, but I think they will now. They're both at, please confirm this for me, that they're both at Moana Pacifica, because I've got to watch that if they are. I can't wait to see it. Brodie Retallick said, "Oi Peter, 4 more years you fuckwit." And you're there going, you dished it out, you got to take it. No issue with that whatsoever. In fairness to our Irish players dishing it out, and you got to take it. As much as I love Ireland, as you can see, if you dish out the abuse, you better be fucking ready to take it. Notice how the All Blacks spoke after they had shut Ireland up, and they did. They shut us up. We thought we were going to win. I didn't. I said I didn't think we were going to. I said I hoped we would. Of course I did, but I thought, we're not going to. I don't fancy this team. I think the All Blacks wanted more, and they did. No issue for me in that game. Maybe a few scrums that went their way that shouldn't have, but if you're doing that, you're clutching at straws. There were plenty of areas Ireland were poor in. They started poorly against the All Blacks, and then they finished with the All Blacks having to defend, which they did. Ireland could have got a try and won that game. It's only 4 points in it. If that was the All Blacks against Ireland, I'd be nervous that they were going to score, because they keep the ball so well. But when we had it, I thought it's only a matter of time before we lose it. I'm just waiting for a knock-on or a turnover, and then Sam Whitelock got over it. The ancient second row, still putting himself about. Everybody says the All Blacks are such a massive team, they smash you, and they're not the most massive team in the world. That'd be the South Africans or the French. The All Blacks take them down. You can see the All Blacks losing the physical battle to them, but they still keep getting up. They're the toughest team in the world. Not surprising that when you look at the toughest players in the world, they're all French and New Zealand. Buck Shelford, for fuck's sake, had to stitch up his ball bag after his testicle fell out. Like, jeez, if that's not hardy. And decking a Welsh player, you know. The All Blacks just have that fight, you know, that want, that desire to win. Do they get the rub of the green sometimes? Absolutely, yes they do. They got it a lot, to be fair. Like, personally, I feel like in that 2011 World Cup final, France should have won that game. They deserved it, and I don't feel like they let it go. I feel like the ref gave lots of calls to New Zealand. The French had so much dog in them and a want to win. Thierry Dusautoir, like, what a brilliant player he was. Just to put it into context, Thierry Dusautoir against the All Blacks in the previous World Cup in 2007, when France surprisingly knocked New Zealand out of the World Cup in the quarter-final. Thierry Dusautoir made 38 tackles and scored a try. That is absolutely phenomenal. That is outstanding. You know, there's some players in the whole Six Nations that only make 38 tackles, you know. That's 5 games and they make that. He did it in 1, in a tight game against the best team in the world, and he got a try. Outstanding. No surprise to me that the toughest players in the world were said to be French and New Zealand. I agree with that. A couple of the old Welsh fellas as well, for sure. I think Wales always had that dog in them, you know, that they could stick in the game, and that's why it's sad to see what's happening to them. In all seriousness, like, I know there's that rivalry, whatever the Welsh fans say, the Irish fans, whatever we say back, I always admired Wales and their toughness. I always thought they were a tough team. Felt like Ireland needed a bit more of that, if I'm being perfectly honest. Felt like we were too clean cut. The Welsh were just, dogged the way they played. When they beat England in that game, in the group stage, like Australia were brilliant. They were going to win that group all day long and top the group in 2015. And that was it, England. Australia were the best team. David Pocock was the reason for that. That back row of Australia's was absolutely outstanding. And David Pocock, Michael Hooper and Scott Fardy, they were the reason Australia got as far as they did, hands down. But second place was the big one. And the Welsh had to play a scrum half on the wing, a backrower in the second row, I think, I'm fairly sure, a centre on the wing, and Dan Biggar kicked it and they won by 3 points and got second place ahead of England. That is outstanding. I remember watching that game and thinking fair play to Wales, that was brilliant. Remember Dan Lydiate chopping people down like a lumberjack. Should have called him that, the lumberjack. Like, if you want to see how to chop people, Dan Lydiate's 6'4", he's the same height as me. He's heavy, like he's 17 stone 10. I watched the Dragons against Munster, and Dan Lydiate he still has it. His tackle is so good. Show you, speaking of the Welsh, I know they love their sheep just like we do. Won't make a joke. There they are there. Look at this lad. He loves them too. Yeah. You like the sheep, don't you? The reason why I'm talking about this, and I was going to make separate videos, but I feel like the All Blacks epitomised rugby, and they also were very respectful. They would help lads up off the ground, when all said and done, it's only rugby. Ryan Wilson, anyone remember him? Call him the man who couldn't play for England, so played for Scotland instead. Like, they say that to Jim Hamilton as well, but I like Jim Hamilton. I don't like Ryan Wilson. Ryan Wilson said something which I thought is disgraceful, and it shouldn't be said in rugby. So Courtney Laws was on the ground, really good England player, also a great chop tackler, I might add, playing for Northampton Saints against Saracens. Now, him and Maro Itoje have played together for years now, lots of times, and I think to myself, despite the fact that we're on opposing teams, I still like you as a friend, and I'll hit you hard, but I won't forget you're my mate and I'll help you up. I feel like you should do that anyway. I think it was Nick Tompkins, the Welsh centre who plays for Saracens, and he went to help Courtney Laws up, and Maro Itoje said don't do that and slapped his hand away, and Ryan Wilson was applauding it, said I love that. I was like, what are you on about? I hate that shit, and I've seen it myself, that the lack of respect which is being applauded by some idiots. That's not what rugby's all about. Like, cop on to yourself. Glad to see people in the comments calling it out, because it's complete bullshit. And what was Ryan Wilson, Richie McCaw was respectful, and he's 100 times the player Ryan Wilson will ever be. I hate that shit, I really hate it. That's not what rugby's about. Like, I got a few cards in games, yeah, and maybe it was a little dirty at times, but I always would help a man up, always. And once the game is done, it's done. I know I do my highlights and review it, but that's the attitude would have told you I don't like. Like, you've played with that man, Courtney Laws. He's your teammate for England, and you treat him like that. How do you treat people that you don't play with? Jeez, I'd hate to see how you treat them. That's not on. I don't like that stuff. Just a lack of respect. It's creeping into the game more and more, and it's getting a hold. Our values are being lost in everything, including rugby. The All Blacks epitomise what it is to be a great rugby team, and I hope Wales can bounce back genuinely, like all the slacking that goes on, but they're a great team. It's sad to see Wales doing so badly. We need them back. Kimru Ambit. My limited Welsh, but I know that it means Wales forever. I hope they do, because they're one of the great Six Nations teams. We need them to be good, and I hope they can. If Simon Easterby were to go there, he's a great Clonettley Scarlets player, and I really respect him over there. He was the captain for years back when Clonettley and Welsh rugby was in a great place. I'm sure he'll be a man who's respected and will turn it around, but they also need the players to do that, you know. As I say, I hope they can, because that 2015 World Cup match against England, that's Welsh rugby at its finest. You know, everyone's out of position, but we still all come together as a team, and that used to always be said about Wales. They would come together for the Welsh team, even if the clubs weren't doing well. And that's what I'm saying about the All Blacks. We are a team. We are united. We all come together as one. We might have a few players that are world class, but you see a lot of All Blacks players when they go abroad and they don't do so well. That's because they're not in the same atmosphere. So that's a culture that the All Blacks have created that I really don't want to lose either. But I fear we will. It's already lost with Wales, sadly. You know, I really hope that it can come back. We need those. We don't want everything that is great about New Zealand rugby either to be gone. Like Ma'a Nonu was born in a, call it like a corporation house, you know, projects almost, if I'm not mistaken, in New Zealand, wrong side of the tracks anyway. And he played as a, they call it a first 5'8". I just call it first centre, 12, you know. Conrad Smith from a good background, a qualified lawyer, at 13 outside him, and the two of them played together for the Hurricanes in Wellington. Love each other, and they played as the same centre partnership for the All Blacks, and they're like brothers. Isn't that great to see? That's what rugby's all about, not dividing people. That's what rugby is all about. I think stupid comments like that from Ryan Wilson are pathetic. I feel like that's getting away from the values. Lads down the ground, you've played with them, and you're going to slap someone's hand away. Say, don't help them up, fuck them. No, that's not on. I don't like that at all. We need to stamp that out. Stamp, Maro, I told you, he knows all about that. Anyway, let's get values back. Hope it can stay. See you in the next one.